Today I watched two videos on mall closures in Akron, Ohio, one being pertaining to Chapel Hill and the other one pertaining Rolling Acres in Chapel Hill. And though the commentators did a very good job of research, the second one did even more research. They're from another area of town, so they never visited the locations in their heyday where I grew up in Akron. And remembering when Rolling Acres Mall was first built in the mid-70s, I think the one commenter said 1975. I couldn't remember the date, but I do remember going there basically on a weekly basis. My mother would go shopping at the grocery store and then take me up to Rolling Acres with her after school. Or if it was summertime, I'd go shopping with her at the grocery store, and then we'd go up to Rolling Acres. And I would go to the game room, and she would go do some more shopping or look around the mall. She liked walking around the mall looking at stuff. I don't ever remember her buying very much, but she basically did, have her fun going out. So I remember going to the game room quite a bit at Rolling Acres, and the mall was always packed, and this is on a Friday mainly. And in its heyday, when it started off for probably a decade, that mall was jammed packed with people. I know the one content creator said Rolling Acres never did have great success of some sort, yet it did. It was the best mall out of the three, the other two being Chapel Hill and Summit Mall. Now, Summit Mall, it did okay. It was just there. And it was kind of busy, but never as busy as Rolling Acres was. And Chapel Hill did well, but it needed some upgrades and some improvements, which they did do. The problem that they did not address was why the malls failed, why Rolling Acres and why Chapel Hill Mall failed. I'll tell you exactly what it was. Two reasons: safety and crime. And that might go hand in hand, but if your customers do not feel safe, which are mostly women, they're going to shop elsewhere. And it started with Rolling Acres, and I believe it had to do with the abduction of a woman in the parking lot. And there were other issues with teenagers and young adults congregating at the main entrance, that it was mainly all I ever saw in the mall was mall security. Whether there was an Akron Police Department presence, I do not recall. I do not recall seeing in the parking lot. I do know there was mall security, but they were thin. And as time went on, in violence, fights, people getting purses snatched, people being harassed, your shoppers aren't going to go there. And then with crime being rampant, people stealing from the stores, pretty soon Rolling Acres started going downhill. And a lot of that had to do with a shift in the population. I'll just put it that way. When South closed, South High School closed, and then Kenmore High School took the brunt of most of the kids. Garfield took some, Ellett took some, I believe. Everything kind of shifted in that area, and then you started getting more and more riffraff and bad kids hanging out at the malls, and pretty soon the ladies left. And where'd they go? They went to Chapel Hill, and Chapel Hill started doing improvements. They put in that food court and that carousel, and they did all kinds of things that kind of improved that mall, made it more attractive, a safer place to go. And eventually Rolling Acres went enough downhill to where most of the shops closed, and ultimately the other content creators, especially the second one I read, pretty much got it right on everything pertaining, the mall and it closing and what have you. He just didn't have it right pertaining why it closed, that it was actually a very, very good mall in its heyday for at least a decade. And but the issue being was Chapel Hill met the same fate. Same owner, same fate. And they refused to understand that you need to keep your customers safe, a feeling of safety. So what fell, the fate of Rolling Acres became the fate of Chapel Hill Mall. It started losing its customer base, ruffians, kids, violence, bad people were hanging out at those malls, stealing. There was even mall security was told not to apprehend anybody stealing. They were worried about a lawsuit. So it started going crazy. And you're talking 20 years ago. And you were thinking, well, that stuff's happening now. No, that was happening a long time ago. And people were stealing from stores, leather. I talked to a person that had the leather store in there. Oh, yeah. We had somebody walk out with a leather coat, and I'm like, would you stop him? I'm like, no. Told not to stop him. Why not? Because we don't want a lawsuit. What about mall security? Oh, they're told the same thing. So people were walking out with $400 or $500 leather jackets, not paying for them. And where's the police? As far as I know, Akron police were not either paid enough or not paid to be in there, or there was no agreement between the mall and the police department. Though there was a sign in the one video that said Akron Police Department in one of the corner spots. I don't recall seeing that. Maybe that showed up near the end, but I never remember seeing an Akron police presence at Chapel Hill Mall. I could be wrong. Maybe I just didn't pay attention. I did remember seeing guys on Segways that were mall security zipping around through there, but only a couple of them. It wasn't like there was a lot of them. They weren't going to stop anything. I guess they were just there for presence. And you got to figure those guys are making minimum wage maybe. I don't even think they had a gun on them. So you're not keeping your shopper safe. And the same fate befell Chapel Hill. Closures, shops going away, going somewhere else. And now you have another defunct mall. And why the mayors, past and present, couldn't foresee or see this problem and work something out to try to get the public or make the public feel safe is beyond me, because I could see the writing on the walls. When I started seeing the problems at Rolling Acres, I'm like, ooh. And I was young then. You're talking the 80s. I'm like, ooh, that ain't good. You got to keep the shoppers safe. But nah, that mayor couldn't see it. The owner couldn't see it. And then Rolling Acres closed. And same fate befell Chapel Hill. So where did everybody go? Well, everybody went to Summer Mall. Okay? Summer Mall was not the glorious mall to go to. It was Rolling Acres back in the late 70s. Chapel Hill was second. Summit Mall was, hanging around third. And then with Rolling Acres going downhill, people decided, we'll go 15 minutes over here to Chapel Hill. And some of them went to Summit. Well, now with Chapel Hill going downhill, where'd they go? A lot of them went to Summit Mall. And Summit Mall is doing just fine. I drive by Summit Mall regularly, and it's packed. On Friday or Saturday, it's packed. And during the holidays, oh yeah, that place, all the parking spots are full. So there ain't nothing wrong with that mall. And why? It's not in Akron. Though the other content creator tried to say Akron area, failed to mention that Summit Mall is not in Akron, but on the edge of Akron. It's in Fairlawn, Ohio. And Fairlawn has their own police department. And I do know, because I've eaten that food court many times at Summit Mall and went shopping at Summit Mall. Fairlawn Police has a presence there. They're in the parking lot. They're in the mall. Now, whether that owner, who is obviously different than the same owner that owned Rolling Acres and Chapel Hill, maybe he's paying the Akron Police Department. Maybe he had some sort of agreement. Not the Akron Police Department, sorry, with the Fairlawn Police Department. Maybe he's got some sort of deal with the Fairlawn Police Department to where they patrol that mall and keep it safe for everyone. And you could actually feel that presence at Rolling Acres, that you didn't feel safe, and you could feel that at Chapel Hill. But at Summit Mall, you don't have that feeling. You see the presence of police there, and they're there to arrest you if you do something wrong. And I'm sure robbery, those people are apprehended if they try to steal something. So, not only did people go to Summit Mall, but, obviously you can shop online. And there's other strip malls that you can shop at. Cuyahoga Falls recently rebuilt a section of their area, and they have little strip shops and stuff like that that's very nice, that people go to and would prefer to go to than like a Chapel Hill. And that's two exits up and probably about 2 miles, 3 miles over to the west. So nobody's going to go to Chapel Hill when they can go there. And then you can hop on the highway, go to Summit Mall. And if you really want to, you can hop on the highway and go down to Belton Village, which is absolutely packed. That's down in Canton. That place is a zoo sometimes with so many people. The area has so many businesses, so many restaurants. I couldn't believe how built up Belton Village is in Canton. And Canton has 1/3 technically the population that Akron does. Akron sits around 195, and they keep losing population because, the mayors are lost. While Canton kind of stays at, I think they might be growing a little bit. Canton is, in the surrounding areas. There are about 70,000 people right now. But they have a mall, and their mall's doing just fine. It's going gangbusters. So figure it out. Must have something to do with keeping the riffraff out. But like I said, it's a shame Rolling Acres went under. Chapel Hill Mall went under. Those were very nice malls to go to. I used to, at Rolling Acres, used to play in the game room all the time. And I saw when Star Wars first came out in I think it's 77. I saw it at the Chapel Hill movie theater. I also watched a movie with my dad. I think it was Firefox with Clint Eastwood there. And I didn't go see too many movies with my dad, but he took me to that one because he liked Clint Eastwood. So he took me to the movies. I think that was probably the only movie he took me to that just he and I went to. And I saw Conan the Barbarian there at Chapel Hill in the mall. A lot of good memories. Those malls back in the 70s and 80s were doing gangbusters. Don't let anybody kid you any otherwise. Rolling Acres was the tops. Chapel Hill was kind of like second. It needed some improvements, which they did. And then some of them all was just kind of hanging in there. They just hung around like a smart mouth kid that just won't go away. And they're the ones that survived. And they seem to be doing pretty well. Nothing like Belden Village, but they're doing pretty well. So anyways, I thought I'd give my 2 cents about Rolling Acres and Chapel Hill and pass it along what the actual reasons are of why those malls went defunct. And you got to also kind of consider there were some other things that happened that I didn't cover. You know, there was drug dealings in a lot of places in those malls, you know, where drug transactions and other crap was happening. But I'm not covering that because, you know, I don't know too much about those things. I know I was approached a couple times at Rolling Acres, somebody wanting to try to sell me weed, but other than that, I do know that there were drug transactions and stuff like that going on at Rolling Acres, and the same thing befell Chapel Hill. It wasn't curtailed and taken care of. But like I said again, I just wanted to cover, you know, the issues that weren't covered in the other two people's videos. I made comments on their videos. I have a feeling they may delete them off. That's why I'm making this video. So hopefully you watch it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Take care.